Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Sipping on Tea while we hang out together. Sorry about it. The fits and starts at the beginning with the music thing. I just kept bumping stuff while I was setting myself up here. So, welcome, welcome, everyone. Very glad you're here. Like last time, I I don't really have anything specific to speak about. I could if push came to the shove, but it'd be really great to get some requests in early. That would be that'd be nice. That would help me out. But there is one thing that's been on my mind because it keeps coming up a lot. It comes up in the self-inquiry sangha. It comes up in the EFT courses, and that is this expectation that if I'm doing if I'm doing self-inquiry right, then my mind's just going to go quiet, and I'm going to feel at peace all the time, and everything is going to be wonderful. Is there anybody here who's actually had that experience? If so, please let me know. Because that's not how it works at all. Awakening is not a one-way ticket to eternal bliss. Well, actually it is, but it isn't the way we think it is. When we begin to awaken, and it is a process. It's not something that just happens overnight. When we begin to awaken to who we really are, that awakening at first can be a very subtle shift. It can be something as simple as recognizing that I'm not who I think I am. I'm not my conditioning. That there is such a thing as the conditioning, and that much of the way I've lived my life has been unconscious, automatic, robotic, just kind of doing things the way I learned, basically was programmed to do them. The things I think, things I feel, the beliefs I hold, my assumptions about the world, all sorts of things that until there's some degree of awakening, we just go along with them. It's who we are. We don't even think twice about it. So one of the first things that happens when a genuine awakening dawns is that we begin to become aware of basically all the bullshit that is our normal way of thinking and living. And it's not an easy thing to accept. The picture you see is not really a very pretty picture. It's kind of like turning a light on in a room that you haven't been into for 30, 40, 50 years. Oh my God, yes. You kind of want to turn the light back off and head back out, but you realize that this is the way it's got to be. That this stuff has been there. It's been influencing my life. It's been creating my experience, and I've been completely unaware of it. And you really become aware that the sense of identity that we've been walking around with, thinking this is me, this is who I am, is a total fiction. That doesn't happen all at once. And even when you grasp that it is that, maybe even get to the point where you begin to glimpse that you are the self. You are pure awareness. You are pure consciousness. You are Buddha nature, Shiva being. The programs, the conditioning, it doesn't just go away. It's like, the mind doesn't say, "Oh, well done. You're awake now. I'll see you. I'm out of here." There's a momentum that's been going on for lifetimes that is still at play. And so I hear a lot of people say, "Well, I know I'm the self. Why does my mind keep doing this? Why my mind is such a problem? I've got all these." It's like, okay, slow down, take a step back. The key to being truly free is not that all of the bad thoughts and uncomfortable and unpleasant emotions and sensations, or the untoward things that happen, the stuff that happens to us in our lives, the experiences we have. Freedom is when we recognize that, yes, they are happening, they are there, and I actually have a choice as to whether I am going to go along with them or not. See, every time something comes up that's really challenging, it's really an invitation. It's an invitation to go even more deeply than you've ever gone before into that quiet, still sense of being, which is always there. Freedom means that the stuff that happens in life no longer intrudes upon my sense of well-being. That's freedom. It isn't that everything goes good in my life and I don't have bad feelings anymore. That's the law of attraction stuff, right? Where I'm going to raise my vibration and then the genie of the universe is going to hand me a bunch of stuff. Which is, there's a little bit of truth in it, 10%, about 90% just nonsense. Because it doesn't have any clue as to who you really are and what awakening actually means. So don't be distressed in the slightest if you suddenly find yourself, you've had a wonderful experience, right? You're just so crystal clear, and 2 minutes later, your mind is a complete muddled, confused mess, or your emotions are just going crazy. Yes, it's going to happen. So at that point, you can simply be with it, sit back, be with it, and do everything you possibly can to not log into it, to not engage with it. And I mean don't engage with it in any way at all. Not even, how do I fix this? What do I do? What do we do about this? How can I make this go away? Because that impulse, that sense of I that wants it to go away is part of the conditioning. It's just another sense of identity that is limited, finite, and dependent. Because that sense of identity, that sense of I, can't imagine happiness without conditions being the way it wants it. And if it did get things the way it wanted, well, it would get arrogant. It would get lost. It would become unbearable. Someone who consistently gets away with stuff becomes, they're setting themselves up for a major fall. Right? Now, this is true if you're doing spiritual inquiry, or if you're doing a practice like energy healing that I also teach. It's the same thing. We're not here to get into a war or a street brawl with our emotions, with our experiences, with our thoughts. We're here to transcend them, which means that you become immune to the reactions to them. You see the reaction, you'll feel the impulse to react. Something happens, there's an impulse to react. It's very powerful. Prior to any kind of awakening, you just did it. It was automatic. Now that there's a little bit of awakening, there's like you want to pull back from it. You don't want to go down that track, but that awakening is not strong enough yet to actually completely disconnect from it. This is the practice. You just keep bringing attention back. Recognize that it's happening there, and I'm here. I don't have to follow its leadings. And if you want to take it further, you can turn your attention towards the very simple, self-evident fact. To whom is this appearing? This experience, good, bad, or indifferent, no matter how intense. Who's experiencing it? Well, I am. Okay. There's me, and then there's what is being experienced. I have a choice now of putting my attention where my attention is going to go. Is it going to go on the experience, and how unpleasant it is, and I wish I didn't have it, or is it going to go on me? Am I going to turn that attention towards me, the one who's having the experience, with the intention and really even devotion to discovering who that is? And of course, if you've recognized that the sense of identity you've been walking around with your whole life isn't you, then that question, well, who am I then? Who am I really, separate from conditioning, separate from that sense of identity? Before conditioning even arose, who was I? Who am I now? That when you've gotten to the point where you can actually see these things are happening, and you are the witness of those things, the question then is this witness of these things the same as the unconditioned self that was there before conditioning took place? The answer is yes. But the beauty of it is, the more you turn towards yourself, which you don't know anything about as of yet, but you know that it's here, you have a sense that you are, and that it's not the same as what you are experiencing. The more that energy, that attention can be drawn towards that simple, very simple and direct experience of your own being, without trying to figure out what it is or put some kind of idea or concept or face on it. And the more you can do that, the less significant all the stuff will become. It won't stop. Sometimes it'll be really like a tsunami, just rolling you over. But if you're persistent at it, more persistent than your mind is, you'll eventually succeed. You'll come out on top. You will find more and more that there's a power here. And it's not the political power, economic power. It's not the power the world knows. It's this power of place, of your own center. Because once you're there, nobody can knock you off it. Nobody. Nothing can upset that apple cart. So I think that's enough about that. Hello, Lindsay. Hello, Ava. And it's Rosario. And there's Ali. Hello, Ali. There's Daryl. Chilly. Yeah, I guess it's pretty cold out there in the east, isn't it? Oh, brr. Hello, David and Elaine. And there's Miss Nay, who's in my my next EFT class coming up soon. I'll tell everybody about it later. The chair looks comfy, GP. It is. It's a very comfy chair, and the arms are wide enough that I can actually cross my legs and sit here to like meditate and stuff. So I give it a thumbs up. It wasn't very expensive either. Enlightened World Network, laughing with you. Oh, hello. There's Christina. YouTube is full of videos about spirituality, promising that. Yeah. Oops, aren't they though? Hello, Mary. Good to see you. Hello, Baba. Hello, Jennifer. Beautiful sunny day in PA, Pennsylvania, I guess. Yeah. Roberto. Wonderful, wonderful. Awake, not woke. Oh, God, sorry, everybody. Fingers are kind of clumsy here. When the ugly part of us surfaces, labeling it the false self becomes a vehicle for denial and repression. That's not me. I am pure consciousness. Blah, blah, blah. That false self must be integrated, not denied. That's my experience at least. Boy, you've touched on something deeply significant and terribly misunderstood in this whole spiritual, especially the non-dual path. The stuff, when an ugly part of us surfaces, let me start with that. There aren't really any ugly parts of us. There are parts in the process of conditioning. We lose touch with much of who we really are. Our own natural tendencies, our natural desires, our natural interests, our gifts, just our character, our persona. That's very natural to us. But in conditioning, which is about surviving in the family environment in which you live, which limits all of us, and some extremely so. Those parts of us, genuine parts of us, that are not welcome in the environment, they're shamed or punished or diminished in some way. They're you. You can't get rid of them. They're you. They're aspects of you. But it's dangerous for them to be expressed in the environment. So the system, this long before you can talk, think, participate, just kind of make sure those behaviors, those parts of you, don't ever see the light of day. And then adapts a false version of you to present to the environment that is more to the liking of the environment and therefore gets the needs met. Right. Now the real you is still there. And one of the ways in which your real characteristics, the true authentic you, is kept under wraps is when the sense of identity, as the sense of identity develops, the identity forms around, not around who you really are, it forms around the conditioned version of you that has been presented. So the conditioning and the sense of I become one. I become identical with my conditioning. I am that person. You're not, but that's all identity has to work with, is what, because it doesn't even know about this. And one of the ways it keeps all that stuff under wraps is by characterizing it as ugly, bad, sinful, nasty, destructive, horrible. And so any one of those qualities arises, we ourselves become the ones who, I can't do that. I'm not like that. Oh, that's terrible. People who do that are terrible. That's the false persona is not that. It's not the genuine parts of you that have been suppressed. It really is a false version of you. Okay? This has to be clearly seen. If there's somebody who has been, in my humble opinion, mistaught as to think that everything ugly comes up, it must be denied as the false self. Anybody who thinks that is indeed setting themselves up for more repression, denial, pain, suffering, self-rejection, self-judgment. Because if there's really genuine, authentic, innocent, natural parts of us, they're not going to go away. They're going to try to surface as your life goes on. Those are what need to be liberated. And the experience we have at the liberation is like integrated. It's like having access to something you didn't realize you had, right? It's like, you discover you've got this really nice car in the garage and you didn't know you had it. It's like, oh, wow, this is really great. Or finding $100 somewhere that you thought you had lost. Actually, I just found a check for somebody paying for a course in a book of mine. I stuck it in there for a reason. It was like 3 months old. So that's a recent experience. So what needs the faults is simply those things that really aren't you. Right? The beliefs, the assumptions, the attitude, the behaviors, the reactions, the things that aren't natural to you. That would be like self-judgment, which is a way of keeping, if I'm judging myself, if I'm judging these authentic characteristics, then they're not going to come out. And of course, that's the whole point. So the judgment of it, the self-judgment, self-criticism, self-sabotage, you look at that, and if you see them for what they are, simply the nervous system attempting to make sure that the things that will get you hurt do not come out to be seen, then you realize it's just part of the mechanism. It's nothing wrong with it. It's not broken. It's just needing to have its assumptions corrected about the way it sees the world. And then what happens is the faults is seen as faults, not natural to you. That begins to dissolve away. And the other stuff that may have been labeled ugly or sinful or bad or horrible, that begins to be released. The experience it's integrated, right? But it's only integrated into experience. It's not integrated. It's a part of you. It's like, discovering you have your hand. You don't need to integrate it. It's already, you didn't know it was there. And so that's really how it works, awake, not woke. And you're absolutely right. The false self must be seen as merely a creation of the mind being projected onto the form, our natural being. And that because of circumstances beyond anybody's control, much of the genuine you was not given permission to be expressed. And the whole process of energy healing is to release that energy, bring it back, let the behaviors that aren't you, which replaced it, let those go. They just dissolve. It's just energy that can get used somewhere else, put to better purpose. And the natural parts of you begin to emerge. Very, very natural. You don't have to make it happen. So you're right. When some ugly aspect of you comes up, you do not repress it. You welcome it up. Okay, who are you? What are you about? Are you really ugly? Or was I just taught that you are ugly? Are you actually some power that I need? Are you some creativity or playfulness or capacity for intimacy, insight? They can be all sorts of things that have just gotten really bad press. They've been characterized, and then you find, and a wisdom emerges, and you'll find that all of the truly ugly things, the things that we look back with a facepalm and regret, are all a result of the inner struggle between your authentic self and the false self you had to become. That false self is simply is simply unnatural behaviors mistaken for yourself. So it is a false self, but it's not referring to those kinds of qualities. And anything that comes up needs to be welcomed. I don't care what it is. Whatever the feeling is, welcome it. You don't know what it is until you welcome it up. You're with it for a while, and it begins to reveal itself to you. So that's my that's my approach to it, and that's what I do. That's why I do energy healing with EFT, as well as non-dual self-inquiry. There's a very significant bridge that needs to be crossed in all of that. So, time for a sip. I hope that's a satisfactory answer for you. Awake, not woke. I can elaborate on it more if it's not clear. Marty, good to see you. And there's Lindsay, everybody. Yeah, I know you're used to starting at 11, and I had to start at 11:30 today. Just things were a bit backed up in my life. Which, by the way, there may not be a Tea with G next week. Kind of a special. I got offered to go in and do something that was kind of a not an opportunity that comes along very well, and it's the only time I can do it. It's 11 o'clock on a Sunday, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'll let everybody know. I'll send out an email. There's Jay. How are you, Jay? Savvy Stacker. Dose of spiritual bypassing, anyone? I see a lot of that in Christianity, which is why I left. Pretending to be okay when you're not is exhausting, yes. And there's so much, though, because, well, you're praying, right? Everything should be all right. And it becomes, you can't admit it. You can't admit it to other people in the congregation. You can't admit it to yourself. It's hard to admit it to yourself. I came through some of that, not that Christianity like that, but this idea that somehow you transcended all these things, right? By denying they're not real, and you push them all the way until finally you go, okay, it's all not real. Why in the world is my life still fucked up? Eventually, you kind of confront it, right? I'm suffering. I'm not happy. This is supposed to be happy. Okay, what's wrong with this picture? That's unlearning, by the way. It's not the the awakening, the angels singing that people like to think about, but imagine it to be. No, it's an awakening. It's like, damn, my life sucks. What's up? So good. You're definitely not bypassing now, my friend. Fatima, hi Gian, everyone. I'd like to ask what you think about ayahuasca retreat for similar rituals that use psychoactive plants to open the mind or heal past trauma. I've done such things in the past. Well, very long time ago. But I'd already, when I tried that, it was very ineffective in terms of the kind of psychological benefit many people get from it. And the practices I were doing were actually really more my path. I know many people who do it. I know many people are actually facilitators, shamans, right, that are part of the deal. And it is it can have a very, if done correctly, with a genuine, with somebody who knows how to do it as ceremony, and not just having a great experience. Because remember, a shaman, the way these plant medicines were administered historically, it was very integrated into the culture itself. It was understood. It was sacred. It was a ceremony. the one the one of the shamans I know, actually two of them I know, went through 10 years of apprenticeship with the shaman. Because it isn't just, take a bunch of plant medicine and then you can help other people. There was a whole way of living and approach to things, including a diet that after a year where the only thing they ate was like rice and fish and one particular plant that they would then get to know intimately. So it's not what a lot of people have turned it into. The jury's still out as to, well, the jury's not out. It hasn't been broadly utilized in psychotherapy. The places that it has, it's shown very positive results in the right conditions, with the right people leading it. So it can have a very positive effect on people. Like a near-death experience has very positive effect on people. In my experience, knowing many, many people have gone through it, I even know a fellow who is one of the elders of the Native American, who is himself a shaman, has been for his entire life. One of those guys spotted, at 10 years old. He's a very senior person. So I know about it, and I've met people who are very well-adjusted, very sattvic, very wise, compassionate. They don't get angry. These high-quality individuals, none of them are enlightened beings. I've never seen anyone become enlightened through anything other than self-inquiry in one of the forms that it appears. Through Zen, meditation, Buddhist and other kinds of Buddhist meditations, the self-inquiry of my particular lineage. That's the only place I've seen it. Other than things that are just kind of spontaneous events that happen that you can't really trace any kind of causal connection. So that would be my comment. It has limited use, like all processes do. Remember, it's a medicine. Medicines aren't meant to be taken all the time. I've also met people who've done, one person was talking about how she'd done like 60 some of them in the last year. And I go, do you get nothing out of them? I mean, what? I mean, even Terence McKenna, who is kind of like, the biggest proponent of magic mushrooms, twice a year. A heroic dose twice a year. But it's not supposed to be something that is continual. And I would highly recommend that people take up some kind of, it shouldn't be the kind of thing. I've seen a lot of people just doing it like a party and that sort of thing. It should be surrounded with ritual. It should be preparation. There should be, you should like fast for at least 24 hours beforehand. Watch what you eat. Avoid alcohol or smoke and a cigarette. Anything, any kind of toxicity in the body. Treat it like a ceremonial experience, and you can get a lot out of it. But it cannot show you who you are. That it can't do. Only you can do that. That's kind of the magic of it. So that should cover it for you, Fatima. Let's see. God. Yes, inexperienced, a real change. And the moment I experienced it, I go back to the identity which I thought that is me. Yes. That's Hi, Gehad. Yes. Huh? And then, as I was also in the classes, I pull you out of it. Right? And that's why it takes guidance. It it takes somebody who's been through it to show you that rope, because it's very easy to get caught in. Right? Our expectation. And of course, if you've been struggling and suffering, and suddenly you get this breakthrough and there's this wonderful freedom, yeah, you're going to want to really hold on to it. It's going to even feel worse when all those things begin to surface again, which is why we need a Sangha, we need each other, you need the guidance of somebody who's gone through it. It's simply the way it works. So maybe I should put that up there, my banner for the EFT class, right? What? I'll just put you up there. Go there. Take my class. The new level 1 is starting. Well, it started in terms of all the pre-recorded material. The registration is open. The live classes will be starting in a couple weeks. Real simple. Homeschool.ca EFT. And I use EFT because it is a very, very simple, easy to learn modality that helps the nervous system kind of let go of some of its defenses and become much, much more pliant and open to change, which is what's required. It's got to let go of its defenses and its assumptions in order for the genuine you, the true authentic you, to begin to emerge, because that's what it's protecting. It doesn't want it to emerge. That's why it's difficult. Because it's not safe to be you, and now you want to be you, so you have to convince the energy itself, the body itself, that it's safe to be you now. It doesn't have to maintain the facade any longer. So, hope it works. Thank you, Joseph. Miss Nay. Hey, G, I've heard people in spiritual spaces talk about things not having default meaning, and that experience arise, and we give it definition assumptions. Is there truth to this? It's totally the truth. Nothing has inherent meaning. If it did, it would mean the same thing to everybody, right? You could to you like to go walking in a forest, right? Like some paths through the parks and that sort of thing. It's very, very lovely. To somebody else, to a real estate developer, they're a nuisance. It's got to try to clear all those ugly trees away so it can build the gated community and the golf course. To the environmentalist, they'll chain themselves to that tree. Same tree, same forest, completely different meaning given to it. This is the way everything it is. There is no inherent meaning in anything. Meaning is all in the eye of the beholder, the perceiver of it. I can say the things I'm saying to you, and for you all, it's like resonant. Yeah, this is great. This is wonderful. Well, hope so. Anyway, but there's 47 people here right now, as far as the number I have up here. Between the two channels that I have, where's the rest? See, if the meaning was all the same, we'd all have the same reaction to it. This is how we begin to grasp that the world is not what we think it is. We assume that the way that what I am perceiving and my subjective ideas about what I'm perceiving are in fact objective. That's what it actually is. And that's the huge mistake. It's an illusion. You're not actually seeing the world. You're seeing your perception of it, mistaking it for the actual world. And you wonder why aren't they seeing it? And we get arguments about it. We fight about it. We'll make wars about it. We'll kill each other over that. Insisting that this is the right perception. This is the right meaning it's supposed to have. And of course, those who control media are determined to create create the right meaning, that this is the true meaning, by simply saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's unsustainable, but you get it. Things don't have any default meaning. They don't. One person likes, another person doesn't. What's interesting to one is not interesting to another. What's important to one is not important to another. So it's really kind of, it's no great spiritual insight, is it? I mean, just look around your life. If you see that, really see that, you actually become free of being entangled in meanings, definitions, positions, right, and opinions that are contentious. There's one Zen saying that is, don't seek enlightenment, just drop your opinions. Because when you see that, you recognize that everybody's seeing it differently. It makes you very flexible, very, very malleable, very compassionate. You're not holding on to a position so strongly. Because no position is the truth. And then it becomes, in any given situation, what's the closest we can get to truth here? Where is the truth actually? There's no meaning in the thing. The meaning is here. Well, this would be a good place to look for truth then, right? If I'm giving it the meaning, what meaning does it have, and to me? And why is that important to me? And is that truly me? Is this more, I've been conditioned, I was raised to be a Christian, or I was raised to be an environmentalist, or I was raised to be a capitalist? Or is this, am I seeing something that is truer than just subjective? Well, this is a hard one to explain. Give me a second. The truth is never in the thing, nor is it in the meaning we give a thing. Because that meaning is going to change over time. Right? The things that meant a lot to you at 10 years old don't mean it to 20 or 30, and on it goes. The meaning and import, significance we give to things changes over time. So it's not the truth then. It's just perceptions and subject. It's totally subjective. The truth, by definition, can't be subjective. Truth, by definition, is objective. It is. It is not subject to perception. It isn't altered by perception. It doesn't depend on perception. Truth does not require it to be believed in order to maintain the truth. A belief that is not true must have a believer in it, because without it, it ceases to exist. So then what is true? Right? Where do you find the truth? Well, I always point to the one thing we know for sure. The one thing, the truth that you can rely on 100% of the time. And that is your own existence. I am absolutely certain it's true. I could not be convinced that I existed if I didn't. No matter how clever the salesman was, if I didn't exist, couldn't convince me that I did. Right? So my existence becomes the kind of ground zero, the place on which to stand. And then from there you can see that, well, what I'm perceiving, the meaning and all of that is varying. But my perceiving is also real. I am, and I am perceiving. I'm perceiving the meaning. I'm also perceiving that the meaning is not objective, it's subjective. I'm perceiving that meaning is changing over time. What is it that can see this change over time? Well, it must be something that isn't changing. You find that your sense of being and recognizing that being is conscious, it's experiencing, it's not just like a rock that exists, that being and consciousness are one, and that all experience is constantly changing and constantly subjective, but I am objective. There's the truth. That's the foundation for everything that we do here, and the foundation for your life. I am. Well then, who am I then? Well, I know that I am. Good start. Really good start. What am I then? And if that becomes a burning question, you're on the path. And not only on the path, you're past the point of no return. So, long-winded answer, I guess. Fatima, thank you very much for your kind answer. I thought something like that. Good. Positive Patty, good to see you. In the book, I Am That, he mentions the theory we work out, not who we are, but who we are not. Please discuss also what your views on humans always searching for something. Wow. Enjoying this. It's the last of this particular kind of tea I have, so excuse me while I savor it. There it goes. The initial path for pretty much everyone, especially for those of us who were raised in the West, there's an absolute need for us to disidentify with conditioning. Now, conditioning are modern words. It was just disidentifying with all the things you think you are. This is the Vedantic path, the inward path, the path of neti, not this, I am not that. Then who am I? I am not that. Then who am I? Because we are so identified with conditioning, with our beliefs, which are with our experiences, with our race, with our gender. I mean, look at all the ways in which we define ourselves, think of ourselves, and act in those terms. That has to be broken down somehow. That working out who we are not is how that happens. Now, a very simple way to do that, very simple but not necessarily easy, is if you recognize a very simple and really self-evident fact, and that is, you are not what you perceive. If you can perceive it, it isn't you. Very simple. I'm not this microphone that I'm speaking into, or the camera that I'm looking at. You're not the computer. You're not me, right? Look around. Everything in your room, everything is other, right? Great. Wonderful. Now, that's all in our external experience. It's easy for us to see that. External being everything on the other side of the skin. I'm not that. I'm obviously not that. When we get on this side of the skin, the internal experience of sensation, emotion, and thought, it becomes, we're so used to believing our thoughts and our emotions and getting all engaged with them. It may take a minute to recognize that thoughts, emotions, and sensations are happening, but I'm perceiving them. The thought doesn't perceive itself. It comes and goes in a flash. Same with emotions and sensations. Emotions don't exist independently of me perceiving them. So if I'm perceiving a thought, even though it's extremely intimate, I mean, it's right here, if I'm perceiving it, it's not me. Whatever I am is essentially different than thoughts, emotions, and sensations. Now I have, by eliminating eliminating everything external and now everything internal, putting on the other side of this lens of perception, what's left? Now, you'll say, I can't find anything there. Perfect. That's exactly correct. There's not anything there because you're not a thing. You're not a form. You're not a shape. You're not a body. So, yes, you're not going to find anything. Now, for most, I don't get it. I'm supposed to find out who I am, which means you're looking for some idea or form or shape, and a vast improvement over the one you have now, but you're still looking to some idea. And it doesn't matter how glorious the idea is. You could have an experience of having a body made of light. You're still perceiving it. So it isn't you. Angelic beings could come from all over the place, right? To gift you. This is you, and show this. Show you one with the entire universe. It's not me. I'm here. I'm perceiving it. This is the Vedantic path. Vedanta means the end of knowledge. So with that recognition that whatever I perceive isn't me, all human knowledge, which is based on that subject-object relationship, is put aside. This is not classical analysis, the scientific method, or logic, reason, or philosophy. This is jnana, wisdom. This is the knowledge, the direct knowledge of myself, non-conceptual, non-phenomenal, not two, not one thing knowing another. And the corollary to that, if I can perceive it, it's not me, which would have to mean, can the perceiver be perceived? If everything I perceived is not me, then can I perceive myself? The answer is kind of obvious. And this is the dilemma. It's simple. I mean, the logic just paints you right in the corner. There's no way out of the logic of it. But it is so. But the impulse to identify with a form is so strong in us. It's so habitual that we keep looking for something. Get to the other part of your question there about because humans are always searching for something. It's because that sense of identity based on conditioning is inherently unstable and unhappy. Another name for that sense of self is ego. That is, the ideas I have about myself, that I'm convinced are me. I'm so convinced that I act it out in my life. I embody that in my life. I am that. I think I am. I feel like it. I dress like it. I choose my friends, my career, everything based around this idea of who I am. But it's inherently unstable. It's inherently unsatisfied and discontent. And so it's on a constant search for what's missing. And of course, that sense of what's missing, that being aware of that is the suffering that moves you beyond. Prior to that, it's just, I need something else, another success, another relationship, another accomplishment, another hit of this or that, another plant medicine journey, right? I mean, it becomes because the egoic sense of self, which is simply a bunch of ideas. There's nothing of substance there, because of course it's not going to feel satisfied. But within you is something very real that recognizes that it's not satisfied. That's the real you. This isn't me. This costume doesn't fit. These shoes don't fit anymore. And so eventually the awakening is such that it turns the attention away from yet another way of trying to fill up that hole, and little by little begins to recognize what I'm actually searching for is myself. And I'm not out there, I'm in here. And that's a momentous place when somebody gets there. It's momentous when you finally really recognize I'm looking for me. I've lost me. And that's when the teacher, the teaching, something comes into your life that begins to direct you. You become receptive to this kind of teaching. You become willing to pay the price, do the inquiry, do the meditations, and in very short order begin to see the fruit of it. If you get good guidance and good teaching, you'll very quickly see and you're earnest. You commit yourself to it. That can take some time. Getting to the point where you really do surrender to the teaching, you really do make it the highest priority. That can take some time because there's a lot of stuff in the way, but it's worth it. It's a very small price to pay, actually, to become free of suffering. So, I hope that answers it for you. Positive Patty. Jennifer, I've done Aya. My brother opened a retreat just recently. It helped remove some things I didn't know I needed to work on. It was beautiful. Integration is very important. Everything is about the integration. Yes. And I know many, as I said, I know many people who facilitate plant journeys. And they said it's a huge problem. Getting enough time to actually integrate it all. There needs to be integration groups. When I was doing men's work, we didn't do plant ceremonies, but it was I was part of a men's group. And after doing the initiation, the male initiation rituals, you were in a group, and you needed to be in a group because you needed to integrate it. You need a sangha. You need a group of people to help you, to help it solidify. There's even one story in Buddhism, it's not everywhere, about Buddha integrating his own. It's presented mythologically in story form, but it's about how he integrated his awakening. He didn't just get up and start walking around. He actually went through a little process by which he integrated the entire thing. He let the whole thing settle in. It has to happen. As I said right at the very beginning about this, you are the old stuff, the old patterns, the old sense of identity. It is going to come up. Period. End of story. I guarantee it. One of the things it's really important to me about having a teacher, guide of some kind, who can show you, yep, you're right on track. This is what's supposed to be happening. It's not a mistake. You didn't blow it. It's not about the bliss. It's about freedom. And the freedom that is free, really, of dependency on conditions. that is not our human version of what bliss is, which is really ecstasy. It's a stillness. It's a confidence. It's a quiet. It's just. It is in fact the nature of your true being. It's what you really are. So, thank you, Jennifer. Everything is integration. Carl, GP, which arises first, a thought or a feeling or emotion? Why do I still get so caught up in these when I know they have nothing to do with the real me? I always feel like they are mine. Carl, you need to be in the self-inquiry Sangha. It's hard for me to answer these questions on chat like that, because I have to work with somebody and pointing out things as you go. You get caught up in them. Right? The feeling I have gotten caught up in them is part of them. They come up. The stuff comes up, right? The thoughts, the feelings, the emotions. And in terms of our human experience in human lives, emotions were there first. We had feelings before we ever had thoughts or descriptions of those feelings. In fact, there are more. We have more feelings that we don't have names for than ones we do, because they're very nuanced and very subtle. But as the mind comes online and we become more intellectual and we become more using our minds more, it's 6-1. It becomes a circle. Which comes first? Who knows, right? They can trigger each other. So it's all in a big stew now. Now you know they have nothing to do with the real me. If you really knew that, you'd let them come and let them go, and they'd have absolutely no effect. So why do I still get caught up in these? Well, when they arise, what's also arising is a sense of I that has a relationship with them. In this case, the relationship is, I don't want to get caught up with them, and I'm getting caught up with them. So there's an I there that has a position. This shouldn't be happening. I need to get rid of them. It's unpleasant. I am suffering. Right? You're not seeing that. You're seeing these, but you're not seeing this. The consciousness that is aware of these is identified with this consciousness, this particular mode of mind or consciousness that says, why are they still coming? How do I get rid of them? I just get so completely... Look at that I. The real me does not get caught up in anything. And the real me is not a theoretical state out there somewhere. The real you is the one that's hearing my words right now. Consciousness. Consciousness is the real you. You're simply not seeing the sense of I that is arising, right? Establishing a relationship with the events, a subject, and therefore a subjective experience or perception of those events as it's a problem, it's trouble, it's causing me, I got to get rid of it. Why are they still happening? There's a sense of I there. If you look, you'll see it. And when you see it, you'll recognize that you're not it. Right now, it's like right here, it's hiding behind your eyeballs. And so you're not seeing it. So who's the I that gets caught up? It's a deeper, a deeper inquiry to be done. And get your sorry ass into the Sangha. Jeez. So every Wednesday, I can do this stuff with you specifically, and keep and keep at it. Make the offer. What can I say? Do I have a banner for that? Sangha? Yeah, I do. Simple, right there. Moscow.ca/Sangha. Right. Sign up. First week is free. It's cheap. It's only $47 for the month. Right? It just barely keeps me on lattes. Right? Oh, how do we join the Self-Inquiry Sangha? Funny you should ask. Let me put it up there again. That's how you do it. Yeah, that's how you do it. I meet every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and what is it? 7 p.m. UTC, which we're getting into the time as we get close to spring. Europe, I'm not sure where you are, Lindsay, but Europe goes on to daylight savings time before North America does. So times will be a little crazy. I think you guys actually might go. I think we're going we go early. North America's like March 9th or something. Like, gosh, I think maybe next Sunday. And then, but Europe doesn't go on daylight saving time till March 30th. Right, so I think there's 2 or 3 weeks in there. Well, the times are going to be really confused and change again. So, but anyway, it's in the afternoon here, in the evening in Europe. Well, for me, it's 11 o'clock in the morning because I live on the West Coast. So that's how you do it. Let's hide you again. Go back to the comments. Oh wow. Let's see. Okay. Sorry. Barb, the real me is dancing. Right, I just start. Jeez. Gotta be careful with this. Where'd you go? The real me is dancing to a country love song with myself. And how to remember that dancing is always an option, right? And to remember that dancing is always an option right now. Ah, beautiful. Beautiful, Barb. Dancing is always an option. Yeah. So is singing. So is talking to yourself. Yeah. Yes. There's all sorts of options we always have. Well, what is, says Dante. It's a cliffhanger or a mystery. I don't see anything. Yeah. Dante's given us a mystery. Miss Nay, thank you for answering. Often notice sensations in the body, behavioral patterns, and jump to assumptions about what it could be, what it means, and what the root cause is. Yeah, unfortunately, that is the end result of healing and psychological and emotional healing being being relegated to the mind. And now, with just a glut of information about it, we're all amateur analysts. So you go, that's because you're holding anger, right? That's why you have a liver problem. Or, this is a childhood trauma because your parents did that. The way I teach healing is that I pay no attention to any of those. Every individual is different. Every circumstance is different. The only thing that knows for certain why a certain condition is happening is the energy itself. The body knows why it's there. It knows why it happened, when it happened, and all the details, and it knows what it needs to free itself from it. So this was the big insight I had maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago now, that it became crystal clear to me that I was stupid. I should admit it, that no matter how good my mind worked, it would never work as well as the nature of the body itself. And I stopped believing that I had the answer, and I just listened to the body. And lo and behold, it told me. I'd say, why is this here? What are you protecting me from? Here. Boom. There it was. well, this is interesting. I named it inner reconciliation. I still use that. There's a section in the EFT courses about it. But you don't need to know. Matter of fact, would you prefer to, which would you prefer? Having to know all the details of a trauma and a wound and experience, a horrible experience that you had, or just having it go away? Just poof. I give the option to the nervous system, to the energy. I say, you know, if you need to tell me what happened, I'm listening. But if you don't, I'm fine with that. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, in order to relieve even a serious wound or trauma, all it needs is to know you're listening and to have a space safe enough that you can release the energy. That's all it takes. Sometimes you'll see the whole story. It'll lay the whole thing out to you. Sometimes what it lays out is like surreal, because it doesn't care about objective truth in the sense of what really happened, because right, meaning is completely subject. Nobody knows what really happened. There's just events and an impact it had on the energy. And so sometimes it presents images that are dreams, past lives, experiences, but sometimes they're a little bit from this experience, a little here, a little over here, some made up, some in a movie it saw. It's not truth in the sense of that we think a literal historical truth. It is a true expression of the state of the energy. And so whatever it gives you, you take. Okay, I'll work with that. And you do. And that provides the space in which the energy will eventually yield. Sometimes it takes a long time. I've seen it happen in a split second. All I can say is, oh, how'd you do that? I say, I haven't a clue. All I know is I show up, I listen, I make it safe for the body to discharge the energy, because I know that the thing that got it into the state in the first place is it wasn't safe. All of our emotional traumas and wounds are the result of a danger we can't get out of. It's a free state of the system. So if it's a dangerous place you can't get out of, and the nervous system now assumes everything is dangerous, what do you think the cure is? Make it safe. It's so simple. I kicked myself when I finally realized it, and how arrogant my approach was to think I knew better. And unfortunately, we, especially in the West, our scientific models, we are really, really proud of our intellect. Right? Yeah, pride comes before a fall. Yeah. So, okay. Anyway. The I that jumps to the conclusion looking for meaning isn't me. No, it's just an impulse. It's the I that wants to know. The reality, the true self, doesn't need to know. It's everything. It's the infinite. What does the infinite need to know? What is the infinite need that is outside of itself? Right? So the I that jumps to a conclusion is the I that assumes it doesn't know, and it needs to get yet something else from the outside. If we just know the meaning truth without searching, that's the truth intuitively coming through. Yes, but don't make this intellectual. Really look directly for yourself. There are some times when you just know. We call it intuition, right? Or inspiration or something. You just know. Where did that come from? And how the hell do you know it's true? Something comes up and you go, that's the truth. How do you know? But you do know. don't you? It's not just that the thing is true. What's even more interesting, you know it's true. Well, what can recognize the truth other than the truth? You are the truth. That being, that simple sense of being I keep dragging your sorry ass back to look at, is the source of everything. But because it's empty of quality, because you can't see anything, it's not an object, it doesn't occupy space or time, has no dimensions, no beginning or end, because it's timeless. There is no beginning, there is no end. Right? Those are all bound by time. That simple sense of your own being is that. It's the source of everything. When you recognize something, it's true. It's the truth of you recognizing itself. Okay. Hi, Sylvia, Barb. Yes, all I want is the real me now, and I want that to be okay with everyone else too. Well, Barb, it won't be okay with everybody, but you're going to find that way more people coming into your life that are okay with that. Right. Everyone, that's a stretch. But but enough that you'll have just the right kind of feedback and encouragement and support and community that will reflect back to you that the real you is quite lovable, and we like her, and we like her too. Sabby Sack, I have a question that may seem strange. How do you know when you're integrating successfully? Well, all I can do is put it into the terms that I know, which is, am I more kind? Am I more patient? Am I slower to anger? Do I not react as quickly? Do things that used to just set me off not set me off anymore? Am I listening better? And instead of figuring out what I'm going to say next to who I'm talking to prove that I'm right, am I just listening? Am I hearing them? Am I less judgmental of myself? Less judgmental of others? That's what I look for. I don't look for great blissful experiences. I don't look for the great big breakthroughs. Give me a breakthrough, right? I don't look for those. I look for those shifts in character that aren't going to be undone later. Not just an experience that will fade, but a transformation that is opening up and making a completely different version of you within life. Some days I feel like I'm regressing. You will. You're not, but it will feel that way. Why? Because the old patterns are going to come up. Yeah, welcome to being human. There's some days you're going to get up out of the bed and be grouchy. It's okay. You know, there's some days I get up and say, I don't want to do anything. God, do I have to teach today? I can be really pouty, right? There it is. It's like, waking up, you have a cold, right? I have days like yesterday where I felt content despite my conditions. It doesn't last as long as I'd like before I seem to regress back to identifying with my conditioning and circumstances. I begin suffering all over again. Yes. But here's the deal, my dear. You're noticing it. You see it now. See, one of the signs of progress and integration is that you see it. It used to operate so automatically that you didn't see it. You thought that I don't like this, I want out of, I hate my conditions, was it. There wasn't an alternative unless those conditions changed. That's the way the vast majority of people in the world live. But now you go, wait a minute, I had these moments of just contentment, and the conditions didn't change. I have more access to this than I realized, and then all the old habits come back. It's okay. It's okay. It's part of the process. That's why you're in my classes. That's why you're here, there, so that we can get it to the point where it becomes increasingly your default. And it's one of the signs of integration is you see it. It's frustrating because at first you'll have a moment of like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I don't want to ever let go of it. Right? And of course we want to hold on to it. And then it goes, and then it feels even worse. Because now you've tasted that kind of contentment and joy. You don't want to let it go, but all it does is kind of bring more resolve to following this path, which eventually leads to more contentment than discontent, and eventually no discontent whatsoever. Just you're completely in harmony with life. You're in harmony with the ups and downs of life, the dark and the light, right? The positive and the negative. And it's no longer troublesome for you. Then you find yourself consistently in a state of discontent, and even when you find you're out of it, it's very quick to get back to into a state of contentment. And when you fall into discontent, you recognize it. There it is. So even those feelings of discontent, you recognize, there it is again. It's okay. I'm just going to be with you. Is there something you need to tell me? How are you? What is it in me that needs my loving attention? Completely different interface with all of those feelings and struggles and things that we go through. So you are on the path, my dear. I have seen it quite clearly. One of the gifts of having done this for so very long and worked with so many people is I get to see these tiny little shifts, and I know healing has already taken place, and you don't know it yet. It's very fun. I know it's only a matter of time before it surfaces in some way that's recognizable to you, but you can tell that when the energy shifts. It's, there, got it. And some of these are so subtle, right, that developing our own sense of sensitivity to the point we're aware of these subtleties. It's another one of the gifts, but it cultivates over time. You just begin to recognize it. You just see this, and it's just a matter of time before it will change, because the energy is not the same. There's a little opening, and it's beginning to flow down its natural channels. So, good. Yes, I'm interested in it as well. All right, let me put it up again. There it is. Yep. That's for the self-inquiry Sangha that we meet weekly, and I do other things for them as well, and give them some discounts on other courses, and as well as put up messages every now and then. I'm also very available. There's a chat group for that group where you can post questions and I answer them. I'm available by email. You just get more access there, because I only have so much time in a day, and I got to do the best I can to answer people's questions and the like. So there you go. If you're interested in the emotional healing part of it, go to there. I've got a new class starting on that as well. I love teaching this stuff. It's also how I make my living. I'm just a working stiff, like everybody else, Joe the plumber or something like that. So, alrighty, let's see where the comments are. Go away, please. You're talking to me? I'm sorry. Oh, no. Okay. California time sounds good. Yeah, California time would be 11 a.m. Yeah, that's when I'm there. Yeah. Okay, so Svant loves to edit. Somebody loves to edit, so interested as well. Sylvia, I sometimes fear having a suffering that I can't handle. Thoughts can be rationalized, but some feelings like emptiness can be debilitating. They always pass, but still have this fear. Yeah. It's an energetic pattern that is set up. And it's very natural for us humans because unlike animals who are always in the now, we have the capacity to project into the future and remember a lot of the past. Well, animals have memories as well. That's some a lot better than ours, like elephants. Others is too. Dolphins, yeah, many have a lot of memory. Actually, a lot of them do. Lions. Anyway, they do not have the power to project into the future. And so when something comes up, like a sense of emptiness, which we're not talking about the emptiness of like the infinite self. We're talking about that loneliness, that just kind of void. My life doesn't, what means anything? They're just like cut off from all the good. It is debilitating, right? And it does always pass. But the way our minds work is, okay, how can I prepare so if it comes again, I can avoid it, or I can make sure it doesn't come again. And the foundation of that is fear. It is the enactment of fear, because nobody knows what's going to happen. So what if it never comes again? Would that be okay? So the way I approach it is to kind of work with that energy of fear to bring it out of its future tripping into the now. Is it here now? No. Okay. So since it's not here now, would it be okay to feel safe and not be afraid of what might come? Right? It's a retraining of the nervous system, which is always wanting to project into the future. And because the future is completely unknown, what it projects is completely imaginary. But then it reacts to that imaginary thing with fear, because if it was real, the fear would be useful because you'd be dealing with something that was right here and now that you could actually act on. But when it's imaginary and in the future, the fear is there, but you can't act on it. There's nothing you can do. That's a freeze. Now you're just stuck in a loop. It just around and around and around and around. So the end result being that even when you are safe, you can't allow yourself to feel safe. So you never actually get to experience the state of simply being safe, at ease, content, just hanging out, relaxing. Can't, because of this capacity of projecting things into the future. Right? So it's a retraining of the nervous system. Again, I don't know your background, but I use EFT as a modality. I combine it with meditation, and self-inquiry comes in level 3. But with meditation, self-awareness, and inner reconciliation, to reconcile between these things, so that there's what emerges is not a perfect plan for avoiding fear, because they don't exist, but a sense of that I have all the inner resources I need to deal with things when they come up, so I don't need to try to deal with them when they're not even here yet. Which means I can just relax into the moment, because I've become aware and really are and trusting in the fact that I have the resources that will be available when I need them, which means I don't have to anticipate in advance, which means I don't have to be afraid, and I don't have to get stressed out. That's how you get centered in the present moment, right? It's not ignoring anything, because you find that the nervous system is quite capable of dealing with what comes up when it comes up, and it doesn't need any help in advance. That's just the mind interfering with the process, and that's how you deal with it. Sylvia B, yes, fear is a bad thing, maybe worse than the actual suffering. It is. For most people, it is. Right? And it's certainly because in the anticipation of something bad, we feel all the fear that would be there if it was actually happening. And then, amazingly enough, of all the things you feared to be happening, how many actually did happen? Either they didn't happen at all, or they were so insignificant compared to what your mind had made out of it. And then that's the key. The key is recognizing that the mind is making the suffering and the fear happen. And what it's doing is imaginary. And so the fear is there, is real that you're feeling, but it's reacting to something imaginary. When you get that, and you recognize that you don't need to know in advance, the system is quite capable of dealing. Look at every animal. They deal with things as it happens. They're not planning in advance. The gazelles are planning an escape route should the lions come. When if they come by from this direction, and if they go this way, we'll split. I mean, that's what humans do, right? We've got supercomputers in a mountain in I don't know, North Dakota or something, running scenario after scenario of every possible thing that might happen. It's insane. It's insane. But that's what we do. How about just being so confident, so at peace with yourself that whatever happens, you're ready for it. That's freedom. Sabby Stacker says, I put off doing this deep dive of healing because of that very fear. I thought dealing with the deep trauma and the feeling would annihilate me, that I would not survive it. And how's that working for you? Oh, I'm so glad you're in the classes, Allie. I'm so glad. Yeah. The beauty of it is that that's our mind's idea of what the trauma is. The body knows what it is. It knows how to deal with it. It's quite ready, able to deal with it. It needs an environment in which it can. That's all we have to provide. And it's so intelligent, it will only release as much energy as the system can handle. This isn't like these things that are forced. Because sometimes the plant medicine can force something before you're ready. The Kundalini experience, Kundalini awakening. I've worked with people whose lives were just destroyed because they weren't ready for a release of it. They forced a release of something without having all the balance. I broke a shoulder, and twice actually. Once because of riding my motorcycle. The other, some guy cut me off. It wasn't my fault, swear to God. The next time, it was because I had not properly trained all of the smaller muscles around the very complex system here in the shoulder. I was doing a strength training kind of thing, so I was increasing the weight, right? And it's a good program to increase the weight, but what I wasn't recognizing is that in order for the large muscles to be able to push this stuff, there's stabilizing muscles that have to be there too. And I broke it, a hairline fracture in the clavicle, because I hadn't prepared all the rest of the stuff. The little things you don't notice, tiny little movements, very light weights on things to strengthen them, which I do now all the time. Right? So it's the same kind of thing with these forced experiences. You need to create the environment capable of integrating and sustaining a big energy release like awakening is. And the way it comes then, if you do, it's just it's so gentle. You almost don't notice it's happening. So gentle. I hear it from people, students, and other people I work with. It's like they suddenly, I don't know what happened. I just didn't react. That's it. That's the deal. This is not, you're not being forced. It's not abreactions, right? This is not reliving the trauma. Right? It's the discharge of the trauma. You don't have to relive it. Right? The body knows what's up. You know, there's even a famous book by Bessel van der Kolk called "The Body Keeps the Score." It's all about trauma. Yeah. Thank you, GP. I've definitely seen improvements in my temperament. I don't rage anymore, and I'm able to think before reacting a lot more often. I noticed that, Ali. I was dancing in my living room yesterday to my old school 80s jams. It was fun. My pup thought I was nuts. The pup didn't join in dancing? What kind of dog is that? Miss Ray, in response to when you asked me if I wanted to know how to know, or to know if I wanted it to go away, wanted to know the meaning, its reason for everything is exhausting. Yeah, you'll never know. It's just one of those bullshit delusions we get that somehow our minds are going to be able to figure all this out. Give me a break. But that's the arrogance of the ego. Yeah. I'm grateful the desire to now want to attack. What did I just do? Oh, damn. Okay. As much as there, Jennifer. Yeah, I went to my journey very open and deep into some kind of practice. Hey, Faith. Hi, my sheik. How to harmonize between the desire of surrendering, going in, no God, and the desire of more easy life. Oh, simple love. Surrender the desire for the easy life to God. Done. I know that in my heart is that longing for love and wisdom. Yes, of course. There's also the desire for romance and intimacy and fun and good sex and money and travel, and let it all be there. Just don't serve it. You can't serve God and mammon. But it's there. It's natural in us human beings. Of course it's going to be there. So what do? Say, not my will, but thine be done. Here, take it. Surrender it. I really want that. And I find when I truly do that, right, that I just feel more peaceful. And every now and then, one of those needs gets met in a way I could not possibly have imagined. And the meeting of that need is so perfect and so beautiful that you just can't help but see the hand of God in it. So, the longing for wisdom, love, true knowledge. I also perceive that desire for money, a job, and a home. Yeah, they're not incompatible. Right? That's kind of probably a religious upbringing that these are bad, these are good, right? It's when Christ talked about that, he said that the rich man, he said that it was easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. The disciples asked, well, whoever's going to get in? He says, well, with men, all things are, with men, it's impossible. With God, all things are possible. So it's not about that. Right? He said it's that the rich one, they trust in their riches. They're attached to their riches, not to themselves, to truth, to the reality of their own being. So you take it, whatever the desire is, take it. You put it on the altar. Here, you take it. God comes around, it's like those guys who collect junk and stuff. God comes around with his cart regularly, Anything you want to surrender? But the thing about surrender is we do it and then we take it back, right? Or we keep a little bit in our pocket for later. It's just a level of just maturity. There it is again. I give it to you. I really give it to you. Not my will, but thine be done. Right? Lord, into thy hands I commit my spirit. I want to be wise, right? But I also want a comfortable life. And then you let go of imagining what that's supposed to be. Right? God, I want a new Mercedes. Right? Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? And you go, and you really let go of the specifics. Just take the desire, and you give it over. And some desires, what will happen is they'll get purified. You'll find that the thing you were desiring wasn't really it. The desire was for something else, and the desires themselves, they become mature, they become purified, they become closer to the truth of you, and then at some point, they'll either just, the desires that are real, human needs, we'll have them, they will be there, they won't cause you any trouble, they won't cause you any suffering. And some, those that are aligned with keeping you on the path and inviting you into the higher understanding of love, wisdom, compassion, etc., they'll be fulfilled. And you'll see that the fulfillment of those is a gift. It's pure grace, and it is not at all in conflict with your human life, but actually makes your human life your sadhana. It makes it the path. It's a beautiful embracing of everything. So, savvy. That's how I felt after writing my fourth step in AA. Traumatized me because I was dredging up all this trauma that did not have the inner yes. Thankfully, by the grace of God, I remained sober and still am 37 years later. Wow. Congratulations. It's a big deal. Being somebody who's had to wrestle with attachments and addictions himself, I know what's involved. I've had some miraculously, just others persistent. It's okay. Savvy, you notice that, GP? Wow. Good, purge me of ego and merge me with you. Yes, God. Well, don't give me credit for that. Lord, purge me of ego, merge me with you. Because I got that from my teacher, Muji. Yeah. Merge me with ego. Or purge me of ego, merge me with you. Or you could just say, Lord, replace me with you. Well, have we run out of... I want to be wise, know God, and I want an easy, fun life. I don't want to know God through suffering, rather by living an easy financial life. Don't determine the way in which you want to know God. Because what that means is you've got an idea already of what it's supposed to be, and you're going to cling to that. And if you do, you'll suffer because God can't possibly give you that, because it's not what it actually is. It's not what the truth actually is. So I want to be wise and know God, and I'd really like an easy, fun life. Okay? Good. Leave it at that. So, Lord, there you go. And I submit to your will. Whatever you want, whatever's best for me, I trust that you will bring me everything I need. That is a prayer that will always be answered. I will guarantee it. I will guarantee it. But the second part, I don't want to know God through suffering. Well, you're suffering now, aren't you? If we don't suffer, we don't seek God. Period. You know, if you're having a great dream at night, you know, it's hot, it's fun, it's steam, you're totally into it, and somebody wakes you up, you are pissed. You want to go back to sleep. If somebody, on the other hand, wakes you up and you're having a horrible nightmare, you go, oh, God, thank you, thank you, thank you. Suffering is how we know we are identified with the false sense of self, the identity that isn't you. Because we suffer. God doesn't suffer. The truth of you does not suffer. It can't suffer. The only thing that can suffer is the false sense of yourself. That's it. When you disidentify with it, the suffering stops. But for the sense of that separate self that is not awake or just trying to awake, it believes that the answer to its suffering is different conditions. And so it's not turning towards God. It's not surrendering. It's asking God to fulfill the conditions that it thinks is going to be what brings it out of suffering. Well, God can't possibly do that, because if she did, it would simply be giving you more suffering, be giving you the very thing that's causing the suffering. So can't do it. So you say, I don't want to suffer. Show me the way out of suffering. I don't know what it is. I've believed that it was about living an easy financial life would do it. I believed that, and I've never been able to attain that. Right? So, you know, people tell me that's what it is, and so I just got to keep trying to attain it, right? Well, maybe not. Maybe not. How about instead say, I take that idea that I assume to be true. I say, you know what? Maybe it's not true. And I'm going to give that over to you. That's the humility, the deep willingness to be moved by truth. And truth, God, love, grace, Allah, Shiva. Because the nature of God, which is the nature of the self, is love. There's nothing it doesn't do that isn't loving. Even the experience of suffering is loving, because if we didn't experience it, we could be lost in delusion forever. Ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. Because even if you spent 1,000 years as some kind of divine being, right? Just whatever you think of, you could manifest. It would eventually has to. It's the nature of all of this. So I love you, Faith. I love you. Hendrik, love from a latecomer. Hey, Hendrik, good to see you. Savvy Stacker, suffering brought me back to God and helped me to deepen that relationship. I still struggle to trust him, her, it, the universe. Grace, it's okay. Just be willing. Just say, you know what, I want to. You know, it's a beautiful line. If somebody came to Christ once, asked him something, and Christ said, well, you need to believe. Right? You need to. And he said, Lord, I know I need to believe. Please help me with my unbelief. What a humble prayer. What's all this doubt and everything? Yeah, okay. Let's look at the doubt together. Yeah. The doubt is just, it's part of the deal, transcending the doubt, transcending the fear, transcending all the thoughts that say that God exists anywhere other than right here. God is not a person. It's not an other. It is just closer than your breath. No distance at all. You are hearing my words, right? There's consciousness there, obviously. Consciousness is God. That is the self, the infinite. It is not personal. We think that this consciousness is my consciousness and it's located here, but those are just thoughts appearing to the consciousness that is unbounded and infinite, that we have named God. Simple as that. It's a metaphor for this, for the truth of you, the self, the great mystery. I am what I'm seeking. So, I love you too. Faith. Eva, thank you, G. Such a pleasure to share here with much love. Timothy always, yes. Even on your new computer? Don't worry about the struggle either. Savvy. I said that prayer often. Yeah. Help me, my unbelief. Well, that's exactly what he's doing. She. There's no gender. There's no gender. That's even actually clear in that first chapter of Genesis, the first account of creation. God does not make Adam and then Eve. That's the second story. It's actually, those are two different. The first chapter of Genesis and the second chapter of Genesis are two completely separate accounts written 500 years apart. Put together to make it look like a single story, but it's not a single story. And in that first creation, God creates man. Let us make man in our image and our likeness. And so they created man in their image and their likeness. In the image and likeness of God created he, she, them, male and female created they, them. Simultaneously. Which created in God's image simultaneously. That means God must be a hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite. I can't know that. God is not a gender. It is the source of all genders. It is that which gives rise to the opposites that let us experience gender and all the bliss of it and the wonder of it. Part of the experience, the self experiencing it itself. So just see with, let's see, lightning bolts on a sun. Well, thank you. So, Sylvia, it may work. I think it does, but it needs to be asked for again and again and again, because the habit of holding back, I mean, that's the nature of the separate self. It's trying to hold on to things, right? Because it feels inherently insecure. When you recognize that, you realize you're real desire is to let go. Your nature is to trust, to put yourself in those hands. Childhood experience and stuff, and the culture we live in teaches us not to trust. Right? So don't worry about that. Ask for it again. Oh, I picked it up again. Sorry. Here, give it back. Because we'll do that, right? Could I have that one back? Do you mind? Do you mind if I take that? It's like, oh, no, you take it. You take it. Just be consistent about it. Remember, truth recognizes the silent intention of the heart, not the words. You don't have to be flowery. You don't have to be able to sit here on YouTube and speak for 2 hours. You don't need any of that. Just the sincerity of a heart. Well, it is that which is heard, because that sincerity vibrates in sympathy with truth. Sincerity, simply a very human way of being truthful. And that truth is also love. That's God, the self, the infinite, the unbounded. Sylvia, conversations with God just like I would with my therapist. God will take any form out of love. Any form. It'll appear as anything. As your cat or your dog. It appears as some guy talking on YouTube. It appears as Papaji used to appear to Papaji as Krishna. As real as, somebody, sitting next to in a restaurant or something, or talking to him. That was the experience. Because when the desire for truth is there, the illimitable formless, because it has no limits, will take whatever form you need in order to fulfill that prayer. And it can come as a book, as a teacher, as something you overhear, as an impulse, as an inspiration. But the guidance, the grace is there. It's always coming. You're always the beloved of loved. That's the realization. And then you find that what you have been seeking the whole time, the grace, the truth that has been guiding you, has been the real you. And the ego is dissolved, and you merge with you. As Muji put it beautifully, the one who starts the inquiry does not finish the inquiry, but is finished by the inquiry. Or as Balyani put it, the Sufi mystic, God takes the last step on the journey that never happened. Marvelous. So, join me in my classes. I used to be very shy about saying that kind of thing. But it's not, you know what? You need the guidance. If not me, get somebody else. Get some guidance. Direct. You can interact with somebody. And there are real teachers all over the world. Not a lot, but they're accessible. And you have access to the whole world now, right? You don't have to just hope that somebody shows up in your town. But you have access to the whole world. But get into a relationship with somebody who can guide you through this stuff. That's all I can say. It's absolutely necessary. I listen to something from my teacher every day. Oh yeah, that's right. Teacher's a living Buddha. So, pay attention. Pay attention. So, all right, my loves. Till next time, I will be, maybe not next week. I'll be sending out a new email if you're not on my email list, just send an email to, do I have that in here in the banners somewhere? No, I don't. Just send it to, to gp at homeschool.ca. So, all right, everybody. Love you all. Until next time. Namaste.